Now, fans of Star Wars and the Star Wars Time Show, I know you are few and far between, but I love you irregardless. Alright, so we're going to do an unscripted ranking and review of Star Wars Visions, the shorts that is, which is now live on Disney+. And boy, oh boy, do they provide a treat to the eyes, minds, and souls of Star Wars fans. So real quick, just a general review of Star Wars Visions. It's fantastic. It's just as good as all the blurbs you've been seeing around the HoloNet. It's absolutely stunning. Each 9 short has a unique visual aesthetic. They're all awesome looking. They're all intoxicating. And they are all very Japanese anime infused, which is fantastic. Because I think we all knew that Star Wars would work well in this animation style, which was kind of teased in those, Galaxy of Adventure shorts. Obviously not as intense and on anime smack as some of these shorts and Visions, but they're just fantastic. I wouldn't say there's a clunker in the bunch. There are obviously ones that were better to me than others, but all 9 definitely stand on their own and are fantastic little jaunts into the Star Wars universe using a lens we've never really seen the universe put through before, even though Star Wars itself is mostly based on Japanese culture, in particular the samurai era. And George's influence from all those films made from Kurosawa. So excellent stuff. 11 out of 10 if we could rate Visions as a whole that way. It's just fantastic. So good, so fun, so entertaining. There's ups, there's downs, there's whoa moments, and there's oh man, that's kind of sad type of stuff. It's just fantastic Star Wars content. And finally, I also loved how each episode just had kind of a hyper focus on lightsabers and the history behind them, the importance of them to the wielder. And you could really feel that samurai influence from the Japanese culture with the focus on, the family passing of blades and the ceremonies we saw in some of the episodes with the blades. And just some of the cinematography used to focus on the importance of the lightsaber in the Star Wars universe, as well as I believe every episode, there might have been 1 or 2 that didn't, also deployed the I have a bad feeling about this line that George and other Star Wars creators have also infused into their movies as a tip of the hat to the maker himself. Alright, so let's get on with the rankings, as in, again, this doesn't mean if my number 9 is a pile of poop. It just means I felt the other 8 were better. Alright, so let's do this. Up first, my number 1 pick, and this was hard, really, my 1, 2, and 3 probably could have been interchangeable, but I'm going to go with the Ninth Jedi. I just found it to be a really cool take on the lore, especially that they used the lightsaber angle. All the lightsabers are gone from the galaxy. So I loved how they approached the franchise through that lens. The lightsaber forger was just a cool character and just a cool concept to think about. Like the samurais had, they would have had their own blacksmith, and here in Star Wars, literally a dude was relegated to creating lightsabers in a forge, so I thought that was awesome. I also appreciated the concept of a translucent lightsaber and the fact that a saber's blade will change color depending on the user holding it. It was pretty far out stuff. I loved how it played into the story, especially with the young girl, and ultimately, in the end, finding out that, yes, she is indeed a Force user and a Jedi at that. So, awesome stuff. Other great scenes. And that speeder bike chase was freaking awesome. You gotta love the crackhead pilot droids. I mean, literally smoking some form of robot crack. And then you had that Sith twist at the end. Margrave the Jedi coming out of a robotic shell. And like I said, all those saber changes. The one guy was red and then it turned purple. And then the girl was translucent and it turned green. It was just cool stuff. So this was the one short where I felt like they laid enough groundwork in those 15 minutes that it could be turned into a full movie, if not a trilogy. It just felt like it was going somewhere as Margrave and the Ninth Jedi and the other Jedi were walking out all, like boss style. So that's why Ninth Jedi is number one. It felt like it had more legs than just being a short. Number 2, I'm going with the twins. All right, I just loved the visuals in this episode. They were very cubic, angular types of designs. You had the whole concept of essentially twin Vaders and cloning and dark side babies. I mean, this episode was just fucking cool. All right, all the mirroring to Star Wars. You had the astromech with the male twin. You had the C-3PO-S protocol droid with the female twin. And, come on, they were mirroring Luke and Leia, R2 and C-3PO. So I completely enjoyed that mirroring of characters. And it felt like anime on cocaine. All right? Like the best cocaine ever. Tony Montoya, or whatever the hell his name is from Scarface, type of cocaine, because it was just out of control. We had lightsaber whips. We had a fucking hyperspace hood riding with mega fuck saber holdo maneuver. Excuse my language, people, but that's exactly what I typed down as I was watching all these episodes. And then you had that great visual ending with the X-Wing kind of crashed on its nose on Tatooine and the twin suns. So I just love the energy of this episode and just how over the top it was in presenting Star Wars. All right, number 3 is the Duel. This one to me is probably the most stylized. It is almost like that rotoscope animation style. You had the color splashes mixed in with the black and white. So I love the way this episode looked. And it also had great nods to Star Wars, albeit set in, like a feudal Japan samurai era. You had the guys wearing the stormtrooper helmets. You had a box soldier. You had a Death Star droid soldier. I believe one of the carvings on the buildings was of the A New Hope famous poster. So it was just great. Plus the tone to it. The Ronin himself, the way he unveils his blade, the duel he has with the other Sith Lord. And then ultimately, I found the best part to be his kill and how he tricked her and stabs her in the back. And then the end where you kind of learn that this guy, he might have been a Sith, but as a Ronin, he's kind of going through and atoning for his sins by taking out other Sith and helping villages along the way. All right, so number 4 is going to go to the Elder. All right, I felt like this episode could have been in my top 3, but the beginning was kind of slow. The pace was slower than the other shorts. Although I do believe the Jedi Master is exactly what it would look like if Keanu Reeves played a Jedi and he was voiced by Han Solo. So I'm just going to throw that in there. But it was kind of dry in tone to start, but it definitely got moving and ratcheted itself up my ranking list once the Elder showed up, the old Sith guy. And he has that battle with the Padawan that's just awesome to watch. And then the Master battle and just like how rad of a duel that was. And it may have been the best duel in Visions, which, pretty much every episode featured a duel, so I'll throw that in there too. But ultimately, I love the message at the end from the Master, essentially revolving around the concept of aging and waning abilities, and the reverse of young becoming stronger while the older get weaker. I don't know, I thought it was a beautiful message. Okay, number 5 is going to go to the Village Bride. You gotta love that Christopher Sean played one of the leads here. If you don't know who he was, he voiced Kaz in Star Wars Resistance, so loved hearing him again. I also like that this seemed to be one of the only shorts that focused on some prequel era content and the fact that some of these warlords kept separatist gear. But ultimately, the end is where this episode really shines, especially when the exiled Jedi finally reveals herself and says, "I am Jedi," and just does like one of those patented samurai anime kills, the Jedi speed right through the dude, slices him in half. It was just badass. I feel like the Village Bride channeled that low-key honor mantra of the Japanese culture and its samurais from the past. All right, up next at number 6, I think 6, I might be losing count, but who cares? I'm going to go with Lop and Ocho. I really like the visuals here. I thought it was a neat take on the Empire's abuse of worlds post the fall of the Republic, you know, so this one felt like it was kind of in that Bad Batch era timeline. Some of the things that took it down, it was one of those animes to me that had that squeaky tone, you know, where a lot of the girl characters talk like that. And it also kind of had a Final Fantasy feel with the animal lead character and Lop. I don't know, I was getting FF vibes from that. But ultimately, I loved Ocho's betrayal. I loved her first turn to the Empire moment, and then obviously the battle between her father and Lop. The lightsaber ceremony in this episode was also badass, and like I said, really kind of focused on the samurai roots of the Japanese culture and how they tell some of their stories these days. And this one also had a pretty fantastic duel. Up next, we're going to go with, what's this, 8? Yeah, sure. No, 7. And I'm going to go with Toby-1, or Toby. I liked this episode too. I felt like it had some Mega Man vibes to it. The Master definitely looked a little bit like Dr. Light, and I'm going to argue that Toby-1 himself kind of looked like Mega Man, especially in his head and body shape. So I don't think that was a mistake. I also just, liked how this episode was designed, the wall etchings and all those, familiar Star Wars scrawlings on the wall. It was just very interesting. I also appreciated the chalk art style Jedi sequences where, it felt like it was living chalk relaying Toby-1's dreams of becoming a Jedi. It was just cool looking. And really just the concept of a droid becoming a Jedi was pretty freaking awesome. And, you had to love Toby's Voltron kill when he strapped on one of his other buddy droids and rocketed towards that cool-looking Inquisitor, who knows, Vader-like character and taking him down. And, of course, a great little nod with an Easter egg with the T-16 Skyhopper there at the end taking off. All right, number 8, I'm going with Anakiri, or Anakiri, which is, I don't know, this one, it just felt slow. This is another one that was slow almost throughout the whole runtime outside the end. And then the end I thought was just absolutely brilliant and beautiful and tragic. I did dig the whole Jedi cowboy tone they were going with, and he did look kind of cool in his cowboy hat, and his robes almost felt like a duster. But overall, I feel like this episode had hardcore Anakin, Palpatine, and Padme vibes from Revenge of the Sith. I mean, the end in particular is almost a dead-on mirroring of what led to Anakin turning to the dark side. And that's what I loved about this episode. I mean, obviously the Jedi's fight against that imposing Vader-like woman was great, but then the fact that she used his girl against him and he struck her down in his dark side rage, and then was able to use that to get him to come to the dark side with the allure of being able to resurrect her, which he does, unlike Anakin. So maybe that was Darth Plagueis the Wise. But in the end, because of his decision, after resurrecting the woman he loves, he still has to leave and live a life of darkness. So this was probably the most somber short, and one that really hit home for fans of Anakin, Palpatine, and Padme and what went down in Revenge of the Sith. And last but not least, and again, this doesn't mean it was crap, but I'm going with Tatooine Rhapsody. I loved Chibi Fett. I mean, really, the whole visual design was chibi to me. The bigger heads, tinier bodies. He was badass, and then to hear him voiced by Tem just made the visuals look even funnier. It was cool to see that, we had a Hutt with dreads that liked to rock and roll. So this episode just had a nice, fun, lighthearted tone to it. And, I kind of dig Star Wars punk rock after listening to some of the songs that the band was playing at their sets. You also had the love that they just threw in a random shot of Obi-Wan's hovel while they were rocking out at the Boonta Eve track. And I don't know, it was just fun. In the end, everyone's rocking, Jabba's rocking, Boba Fett was rocking. So out of the 9 episodes, I'd say this is the most lighthearted one and the most fun. But because it wasn't very serious and lore-rich, it's why it ended up at number 9 for me. All right, people, there you go. There's my mini review and ranking of episodes. Nick and I will be talking about this much more on next week's episode of the Star Wars Time Show. So make sure to get subscribed by hitting the button down below. Like this video, leave a comment, and do what you got to do. But there's always time for Star Wars time. And remember, if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you always.